Well, if that didn't blow donkey dick, I don't. Take two. Hi, my name is Gina. I never thought I would get here. Today is April 14th, 2023. It's my 11th wedding anniversary. April 18th, I'll be 49 years old. Like I said, I never thought I'd get here. And here's the story. Buckle up, Buttercup. It gets interesting. I've tried to do this a numerous amount of times. I'm going to try to complete the story to the best of my ability today. I don't necessarily look the best, but that's okay. I eventually would like this to be a book, a podcast, something. I want to get my story out there. So take whatever. I'm not trying to get anything from you. I'm hoping that you can learn maybe from my experiences, because, yeah, I've lived enough for 10 lifetimes at this point. I call it the first 48. So I was born in Gastonia, North Carolina, to Pat and Malcolm Young. They were married till I was about 4 or 5. I lived in 3 places that I can remember with them. I had a dog named Wrinkles. I remember my great-grandmother, Mama Johnson. I remember I was named after my great-grandfather, Carmen, which I don't know a damn thing about. My parents called me Gina, or Regina. I hated Regina because it sounded like I was a repeat, so I named myself Gina, which apparently my mom loved and my father hated, which is why my mom loved it. My parents didn't like each other, apparently. You can tell by the few photos I have that it was complete misery for them. I was happy as clam, apparently. So, anywho, go to 4 years old. I meet the man that I consider my dad, Bob. At some point during the first 5 years, I was baptized as a Southern Baptist. Shocking. I do not see myself as a Southern Baptist. We'll get there. In kindergarten, I went to Sacred Heart private Catholic school. Yep. I went there till, I think, part of my first grade. I vaguely remember 3 first grades. My next first grade was in Nevada, Lake Tahoe, in the winter. I remember the kids putting me on top of the boulder at the bus stop. I remember Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer on the TV. I remember the 3-story gorgeous townhouse, French chalet, whatever you want to call it, that we lived in. It was a duplex. After Christmas time, my dad had wanted to see, real father, had wanted to see me. So my mom sent me there. He didn't send me back. He had a wife at this time, and with 2 stepchildren, Marty and Yvonne. Marty, I think, was my age. Yvonne was a little bit older. They lived in Belmont, North Carolina, and I believe Elaine's parents they lived directly behind them next to the church that they went to. So anyways, back to the Christmas vacation trip. I don't remember anything about it except for my dad wouldn't send me back. So there was a court case. The judge literally asked me in 1981 what I wanted. Well, what any child wants, to stay with their mom. My dad's new wife terrified me. I didn't really like my new pushed-on brothers and sisters. I'm an only child. I do like my stepbrothers from my other side, but we'll get there. So that was part of kindergarten and first grade. Next first grade was at, I want to say, in San Diego, California. We stayed with my deceased aunt on my dad's Bob's side, Aunt Flo. She unfortunately died very young at 50 with cancer full of her body. None of us knew until 2 weeks before, not even her. I still have the table from their boat from their honeymoon as a coffee table, but that's another story for another day. Anywho, so California for school for a little bit. So that was my 3rd school. And then we moved to Texas. No. Yes, I don't know. I don't remember where second grade was. It was either in Texas or California. Anyhow, by the time we get to Texas, I've had to visit my dad at least for 1 6-week summer. And by the time third grade came around, where I was definitely in Spring, Texas, for third and fourth grade. I think second grade was in Texas, actually, in an apartment. And that's where we got beer, my French poodle, and in a parking lot. And then we ended up with Marmaduke when we lived on Nutwood Lane. That was Nutwood Drive or Nutwood Lane in Spring, Texas. It was a greenhouse. I had a lot of fun there. Used to build all kinds of forts with my friends Shiloh, Marty, and Bubba. That was fun. But by the time I was 8 years old, my stepmother had tried to kill me twice. Once she put me in a car, and they weren't big drinkers, but my dad must have cheated on her. My sperm donor must have cheated on her once again. So she put me in the car and went to one of those drive-up things where you can get beer. And she got a 6-pack of beer, and she drank the whole beer, driving around with me in the car. I'm going to assume she was attempting suicide, because the next summer, when she got upset, we went out to Myrtle Beach somewhere for a week's vacation, and I didn't enjoy going out here at all. It was not my thing. It was torture for me. But anyways, the only thing I remember from that vacation are conch sales with my dad, and little tiny crabs, and the step woman mother person swimming out as far as she could on a raft till the lifeguards had to go and get her again and attempted suicide. Little did I know how much suicide was going to affect my life. Holy shit. So anyways, 5th grade. North Carolina. Didn't talk to anybody for like a year. Nobody. In my classroom. I had moved so many times, and I was so tired of being the new kid all the time that I had just shut down. 6th grade. Back in California. I got at La Costa. We had a gorgeous 3-story condo. I had my own masters. The 2 upstairs were 2 masters with their own bathrooms. This was in La Costa, California, so in a little above San Diego, right before Orange County. That was a lot of fun. I met a lot of cool people there that I wish I was still in touch with today. I got my period there. Funny story there. My parents were visiting, or they were on a trip in Palm Springs, and my dad had his gay friend, employee from where he worked at the spot, Neil, babysit me for the weekend. And guess what? Neil was gay, which is perfectly fine, but for a girl who's getting her period that weekend, not the best scenario. I do remember being in the store and both of us not knowing what the fuck to do. I was terrified. My mother had never told me anything about this. The few things she didn't, I loved my mother. She did the best that she could, but she didn't teach me anything about grooming skills, makeup, period, sex. That she did not talk to me about those things. From a very young age, I learned that I liked certain feelings in certain places. As we all do, it's perfectly natural. You start doing it in the womb. It's true. Anywho, so 6th grade, we moved to, at the end of 7th grade, we moved to Laguna Hills, California. That year, I had stopped seeing my father in 3rd or 4th grade. I'm now going into the 8th grade. 8th grade, I see marijuana for the first time. I have sex for the first time. I was also molested. I was also raped by family members. 13, 14, still in Laguna Hills. Parents separate. We go home. My uncle tries to convince me that we're out hanging out, and he tries to get me drunk, gives me my first line of cocaine, and convinces me that we're not really related, and has sex with me in a park over broken glass. Yeah, attractive, right? Sorry. My mother never knew that. I never wanted to break her heart. She hated the man anyway because he was a thief and a crackhead, and to this day is still in prison for I can't tell you how many charges of drugs, alcohol, and theft. I'm going to move on from that subject. I didn't realize how much that still triggered me. Shitty what you can remember about your family, huh? So, high school. Started dating a stepbrother's friend. At 14, I took an 18-year-old boy's virginity. I remember it. Poor Noel, God rest his soul, we were on the phone, and I demanded that if he didn't have sex, that if my boyfriend Hayes didn't have sex with me, I was going to break up with him. This is how demented I had become because of all of these things that had happened when I was 14. It was New Year's Eve. Shocking, I remember that. I just remembered it. I never know what I'm going to remember or not remember. I started doing drugs at 13. Started smoking cigarettes, started drinking. Just realized that I'd done my first line of cocaine. I did my first line of crystal meth when I was angry at my boyfriend Hayes. I think he had broken up with me. And all of his boys were hanging out at the park, and they all had this stuff that I said. And I had always said I'd never sniff and put anything up my nose. Well, I sure as shit did that day. I did the first day of high school. A kid named Jeremy had given me some. It made my hair all tingly. It was neat. By the time 18 rolled around, I had had a lot of boyfriends. I had been a lot of places. Most of my boyfriends from 14 on were 3 to 4 years older than me at all times, if not older than that. 18, I graduated high school. My parents moved to Saratoga Springs, New York. They opened the bar, the Ice House. I had arrived a month previous to the bar opening in 1993. We'll talk someday about 1992. But after I just triggered myself, I can't handle 1992 right now. Or the 4 years in between, 1988 to 1992. But we'll talk a little bit about 1993 to 2000 right now. So I got to Saratoga. I didn't know anybody. I couldn't find any weed. I basically moved there because I had no place to go. I was homeless. I didn't have a job, and I was an addict and was probably going to die if I didn't move. Thanks for saving me. My parents had no clue. Everybody in Saratoga, since my parents were opening a bar, and there's 100 bars in a 3-block radius, it was perfectly okay for 19-year-old Gina to drink. Wasn't long before I found my drugs and my friends. Partied our asses off for a long time. My boyfriend, Jason, my first boyfriend in Saratoga. Real boyfriend. Actually, he wasn't my first boyfriend in Saratoga. My first long-term boyfriend in Saratoga. 5 years. Then Timmy, 5 years. And RJ came with Timmy. And then Charlie. And Charlie for 16 years. But in between, those three relationships, and prior to, I know my number's over 100, but I don't know what my number is. I spent 35 years fucked up. I sobered up when I was 45 years old. We all know why. I have to end the story here. We'll pick it up again later.